The rain fell softly on the colorful autumn leaves as Jai Yun walked through the forest. She held her scientific equipment close, protecting it from the water. The mountains of New Zealand's South Island rose high around her, their tops hidden in gray clouds. Jai Yun worked as a scientist who studied plants and animals. Today, she was looking for special kinds of moss that only grew in these mountains. Her long black hair was tied back, and she wore a warm red raincoat that kept her dry. As she walked deeper into the forest, her equipment started making strange noises. "That's odd," she said to herself, looking at the screen. The numbers she saw made no sense. They showed something that shouldn't be in a normal forest. Following the strange readings, Jai Yun walked down a narrow path covered in red and orange leaves. The rain made soft pattering sounds on the leaves above her. The air smelled fresh and clean, like it always did after rain in the mountains. Suddenly, her foot hit something hard under the leaves. It wasn't a rock. The sound was different, more like metal. Jai Yun got down on her knees and started brushing away the wet leaves. Her heart beat faster as she uncovered something smooth and silver. It was a pod about the size of a small car. It looked like nothing she had ever seen before. The surface was warm to touch, even though it had been lying under cold, wet leaves. There were no marks or writing on it that she could see. "This can't be real," Jai Yun whispered. She had studied science all her life, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her hand shook as she touched the smooth surface again. Then something changed. A line of soft blue light appeared on the pod. It grew brighter, making the rainy forest glow with an otherworldly light. Jai Yun stepped back, her boots crunching on wet leaves. With a soft hiss, part of the pod started to open. Jai Yun held her breath. She knew she should run, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. Steam came out of the opening, mixing with the rain and the cold air. Inside the pod lay a person, or at least something that looked exactly like a person. It was a young man with black hair, wearing clothes that seemed to shift color like oil on water. His eyes opened slowly, and he looked at Jai Yun. "Hello," he said in perfect Korean, which surprised her even more than finding the pod. "My name is Hajun." He sat up carefully, looking around at the forest. "This is Earth, isn't it? New Zealand, South Island, by the smell of these trees." Jai Yun nodded, unable to speak for a moment. When she found her voice, she asked, "What? Who are you?" Hajun stood up smoothly, not seeming to mind the rain that fell on him. "I am a traveler from very far away," he said. He touched a tree gently, looking at the autumn leaves with great interest. "We have been watching your world for a very long time." Jai Yun's scientific mind started working again. She had so many questions. Why do you look human? Why are you here? Are there more like you? Hajun smiled kindly. "Those are good questions, but first," he looked up at the sky with worry. "We should find shelter. A big storm is coming, and there are others looking for me. Not all of them are friendly." Thunder rolled in the distance, as if proving his words. Jai Yun thought quickly. Her research cabin was not far away. It was simple but warm and dry. "I have a place," she said, "but you have to tell me everything." "I will tell you what I can," Hajun promised. "Some secrets are better kept hidden for Earth's safety, but you deserve to know why I'm here." Together, they started walking through the autumn forest. The rain fell harder now, and the wind was getting stronger. Jai Yun's mind was full of questions, but one thing was clear. Her quiet research trip had just become the most important day in human history. Jai Yun's research cabin stood alone in a small clearing. It was a simple wooden building with a metal roof. As they approached, the rain grew heavier, drumming on the fallen leaves around them. "Please come in," Jai Yun said, unlocking the door. Inside, the cabin was neat and warm. One room held her research equipment, while another had a small kitchen and living area. A wood stove in the corner gave off gentle heat. Hajun looked around with interest. "Your technology is simple," he said, "but effective." He touched the wood stove carefully. You use burning wood for heat. We stopped doing that thousands of years ago. Jai-yun took off her wet raincoat and hung it by the door. Would you like some tea? She asked, trying to act normal, even though nothing about this situation was normal. Yes, please. Hei-jun sat down at the small table. It has been a long time since I had earth tea. While Jai-yun made the tea, thunder crashed outside. The storm was getting closer. She watched He-jun from the corner of her eye. He looked completely human, but sometimes he moved in strange ways, too smooth and perfect. Why are you here? She asked, placing 2 cups of hot tea on the table. And why do you look like us? He-jun wrapped his hands around the warm cup. We chose this form long ago, he explained. My people, the celestial wanderers, have been watching Earth for centuries. We look human so we can visit without causing fear. More thunder shook the cabin. Through the window, Jai-yun saw dark clouds rolling over the mountains. The autumn leaves swirled in the strong wind. But something went wrong with your pod, Jai-yun said. That's why you crashed here. He-jun nodded. Yes, I was running from something. He looked worried. There are others out there, not like my people. They don't want to protect Earth. They want to change it. Suddenly, a loud beeping came from Jai-yun's research equipment. She rushed to check the screens. There's a drone flying nearby, she said, her heart beating fast. Military type. They must be looking for your pod. He-jun stood up quickly. They can't find it. The pod has technology that could be dangerous if used wrongly. He touched something on his wrist, and his clothes shimmered. I sent a signal. The pod will hide itself deeper underground. Jai-yun watched the drone's signal on her screen. It's coming this way. What should we do? Stay calm, He-jun said. Your cabin is registered as a research station. As long as I'm inside, they won't detect anything unusual. He smiled at her worried face. My clothes block their scanners. The drone's sound grew louder, then faded as it passed over them. Jai-yun let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. You said you protect Earth, she said, sitting back down at the table. Protect it from what? He-jun's face grew serious. There are species out there who terraform planets to suit themselves. They destroy the native life and remake worlds in their image. Earth is special. It has more different kinds of life than most planets. We can't let it be destroyed. The storm raged outside, but inside the cabin was warm and safe. Jai-yun thought about what He-jun had said. So you're like space environmentalists. He-jun laughed softly. That's one way to put it. We believe all life is precious, especially life that grew naturally, like Earth's. Suddenly, Jai-yun's phone rang, making them both jump. The screen showed her research partner's name, Young-mi. Answer it, He-jun said. Act normal. But don't tell her about me yet. It's safer if fewer people know. Jai-yun picked up the phone, her hand shaking slightly. As she talked to Young-mi, she watched He-jun studying her books about Earth's plants and animals. He looked so human, but he carried the biggest secret in human history. Outside, the storm grew stronger, and night was coming. Jai-yun wondered what tomorrow would bring, and if she could really keep such an important secret. The storm continued through the night. Inside the cabin, Jai-yun and He-jun sat by the warm stove, sharing stories about their worlds. Outside, the wind made the autumn leaves dance in the darkness. Tell me about your people, Jai-yun said, pouring more tea. The cabin felt cozy despite the wild weather outside. What is your home like? He-jun looked into his cup thoughtfully. We live on great ships that travel between the stars, he explained. Our original home world is very far from here. We left it thousands of years ago to protect other worlds. Don't you miss having a real home? Jai-yun asked. Rain drummed steadily on the metal roof above them. Our ships are our homes, He-jun said. They are like flying cities with gardens and lakes inside them. But He touched the wooden wall of the cabin. We don't have simple, beautiful things like this. Everything in our world is made by machines. Jai-yun noticed how He-jun kept looking at her collection of pressed leaves. She stood up and brought the album to the table. "Would you like to see them?" she asked. He-jun opened the album carefully. Inside were autumn leaves from many different trees, each carefully preserved. "The colors are amazing," he said. "On our ships, we can make any color we want, but nature makes them better. These are from trees all over New Zealand," Jai-yun explained. She pointed to a bright red leaf. "This one is from a Japanese maple, and this golden one is from a beech tree." As they looked at the leaves, He-jun told Jai-yun about the worlds he had seen. He described planets with purple trees and blue grass, and places where the plants could walk and change places every season. "But Earth is special," he said. "You have so many different kinds of life here. On most planets, life is simple, maybe just bacteria or small plants. But Earth," he smiled, "Earth has millions of species." Jai-yun thought about this. Is that why those other aliens want to change Earth? Because it's special? "Yes," He-jun said seriously. "They don't understand Earth's beauty. They only see a world they could remake for themselves." He touched a preserved leaf gently. They would destroy all of this. Thunder crashed outside, making them both jump. The storm wasn't giving up. "How do you protect Earth?" Jai-yun asked. "I've never heard of any aliens fighting in space." He-jun smiled. "That's because we work quietly. We hide Earth from their sensors. We change their star maps. Sometimes we plant false information about dangerous radiation in this part of space." Jai-yun laughed softly. "You trick them. It's better than fighting," He-jun said. "We haven't had to fire a weapon in over 100 years. The best protection is making sure they never find what they're looking for." Suddenly, they heard a noise outside. Jai-yun went to the window and looked out into the rainy darkness. She saw lights moving through the trees. "More drones," He-jun said quietly. He stood up and moved away from the window. "They're still searching for my pod. Will they find it?" Jai-yun asked worriedly. "No," He-jun assured her, "but we should be careful. Tomorrow, I need to contact my people. They must know about the increased military activity in this area." Jai-yun nodded. She looked at her album of leaves, thinking about how close Earth had come to being destroyed many times without humans ever knowing. "We're lucky you protect us," she said. "Perhaps," He-jun said, watching the lights move through the forest. "Or perhaps we're lucky to have found a world worth protecting." The morning arrived with heavy mist covering the mountains. Jai-yun woke early to find He-jun standing at the window, watching the fog move through the autumn trees. His expression was troubled. "The military has established a perimeter," he informed her, his voice quiet and measured. "They detected unusual energy readings during the night. We must relocate to a more secure position." Jai-yun gathered her essential research equipment and documents. She knew the mountain paths well from her work studying the local ecosystem. "There is an old hiking trail that leads deeper into the forest," she suggested. "Few people use it anymore." As they prepared to leave, He-jun's clothing changed color to match the autumn forest. "This will help us avoid detection," he explained. "The technology adapts to our surroundings." They departed the cabin as the morning mist began to lift. The wet leaves beneath their feet made no sound as they walked. He-jun moved with precise steps, teaching Jai-yun how to walk without leaving clear tracks. "There is something you need to understand," He-jun said as they climbed higher into the mountains. "The species that threatens Earth, they call themselves the Shapers. They don't merely change planets. They eliminate all existing life forms systematically." Jai-yun stopped to catch her breath. The path was steep, and the air was thin at this altitude. "Why would they do that?" she asked. "The Shapers believe that all worlds should be perfect copies of their home planet," He-jun explained. "They see diversity as chaos. They prefer uniformity. Every world they touch becomes identical, The same plants, the same animals, the same climate. A military helicopter passed overhead, hidden by the clouds but audible through the morning mist. They waited silently until the sound faded away. Your world has something they particularly desire, He-jun continued as they resumed walking. Earth's capacity to support such varied life forms is rare in the galaxy. The Shapers believe they can use this potential to create their perfect world. They reached a small clearing where the trees parted to reveal the valley below. Military vehicles were visible on the distant roads, their lights moving through the morning fog. My pod wasn't damaged by accident, He-jun revealed, his voice becoming more serious. I was pursuing a Shaper scout ship. They managed to get closer to Earth than ever before. I had to force them away, but the battle damaged my systems. Jae-yun processed this information carefully. So they know about Earth now? Not exactly, He-jun replied. I eliminated their ship before they could transmit data. However, they will notice when their scout doesn't return. We must be prepared. They continued along the path as the morning progressed. The autumn sun occasionally broke through the clouds, making the wet leaves shine with golden light. There is a system of caves ahead, Jae-yun suggested. I've used them for shelter during research expeditions. They might provide adequate coverage from aerial surveillance. He-jun nodded in approval. Caves are excellent for blocking scanning technology. The mineral content in these mountains will help mask our presence. As they approached the caves, He-jun suddenly stopped. He removed a small device from his clothing and studied it intently. We're receiving a response to my emergency signal, he said, but something isn't right about it. What do you mean? Jae-yun asked. The signal pattern. He-jun's expression grew concerned. It's not from my people. Someone else is trying to locate us. The sound of distant drones grew louder. Time was running out. Jae-yun and He-jun stood at the cave entrance when they heard someone calling from the forest. Jae-yun recognized the voice immediately. It was Young Mei, her research partner. Jae-yun, are you there? Young Mei emerged from the trees, carrying her research backpack. Her face showed concern. I've been looking everywhere for you. The military has surrounded the entire research area. He-jun tensed, but Jae-yun placed a reassuring hand on his arm. We can trust her, she said quietly. Young Mei has been my partner for 3 years. Young Mei approached them carefully, her eyes fixed on He-jun. I detected unusual energy signatures on our equipment last night, she explained. Then I saw the military vehicles arriving. I knew something important was happening. He-jun studied Young Mei for a moment before speaking. Your arrival is fortunate. We need assistance with communications monitoring. The military is using advanced tracking systems, Young Mei said, removing her laptop from her backpack. But I can access their communication channels. I developed a program for monitoring radio frequencies during my previous research. The sound of helicopters grew closer. The three quickly moved deeper into the cave. Young Mei set up her equipment while He-jun used his device to scan the area. Multiple search parties are approaching from the south and east, Young Mei reported, looking at her screen. They're using thermal imaging to scan the mountains. He-jun touched the cave wall, and a soft blue light spread from his hand. This will help mask our thermal signatures, he explained. But we cannot stay here long. Young Mei's laptop showed multiple red dots moving across the map. They're establishing a search grid, she said. Very systematic. They must have significant resources allocated to this operation. Jae-yun looked at the autumn leaves swirling outside the cave entrance. We need to reach higher ground, she suggested. I know a path that leads to the old observation point. The metal structures there might interfere with their scanning equipment. He-jun nodded in agreement. A reasonable strategy, but we must move quickly. The false signal I detected earlier concerns me. The Shapers may have agents already on Earth. They packed their equipment and began climbing the steep mountain path. The autumn rain had made the ground slippery, and they had to move carefully. Young Mai used her laptop to track the search party's movements. The military is changing their search pattern, Young Mai reported as they climbed. They're concentrating forces near the northern ridge. They must have found something. Hejun stopped suddenly, his body becoming very still. They've located my pod's energy signature, he said. The containment protocols are failing. A loud rumble echoed through the mountains. In the valley below, they saw a bright blue light shooting into the sky. What's happening? Jae-yun asked, watching the strange light with concern. The pod's defense systems are activating, Hejun explained. If the military attempts to access it, the results could be catastrophic. Young Mi typed rapidly on her laptop. I can create a false emergency alert, she suggested, something to draw them away from the pod. Do it, Hejun said. We need time to reach the observation point. From there, I might be able to send a secure signal to my people. As Young Mai worked, the autumn wind grew stronger, shaking the trees around them. Time was running out, and they still had a long way to climb. The fate of Earth might depend on their success. The observation point stood at the top of a steep cliff. As Jae-yun, Hejun, and Young Mai approached, they noticed something strange about the old metal structure. In the rain, certain parts of it seemed to shimmer with an unusual light. This is not a normal observation point, Hejun said, touching the metal surface. His hand passed through what appeared to be solid steel. This is one of our outposts. It has been here for centuries, hidden in plain sight. The wall in front of them disappeared, revealing a passage that led into the mountain. They entered quickly, and the wall reappeared behind them. Inside, soft blue lights came to life automatically. Amazing, Young Mai whispered, looking at the walls. They were covered in moving images that showed Earth's history. Dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, and modern cities appeared and disappeared like flowing water. Our people have watched Earth's development since the beginning, Hejun explained. We record everything. This outpost contains the complete history of this region. Jae-yun watched as images of extinct New Zealand birds flew across the walls. Why did you choose New Zealand for the outpost? She asked. This land was isolated for millions of years, Hejun said. It developed unique forms of life that existed nowhere else on Earth. We wanted to protect that special diversity. Young Mi's laptop made an urgent sound. The military is changing direction again, she reported. My false alert worked, but they'll figure it out soon. Hejun moved to a central platform in the room. He placed his hand on a crystal that emerged from the floor. The entire chamber filled with holographic star maps. Earth is here, he said, pointing to a blue dot. The Shaper's territory is expanding from this direction. Red areas spread across the star map like a growing stain. They have already transformed 12 worlds in the past year. Can't other civilizations stop them? Jae-yun asked, watching the red area grow larger. Most species in our galaxy are peaceful, Hejun explained. They avoid conflict. That is why my people chose to become guardians. Someone has to protect the natural worlds that remain. Suddenly, the outpost's walls pulsed with red light. Warning symbols appeared in strange alien writing. What's happening? Young Mai asked, closing her laptop. Someone is scanning this area with very advanced technology, Hejun said. His voice was tense. Not military. The energy signature matches Shaper technology. Jae-yun looked worried. I thought you said they didn't know about Earth. The scout ship must have sent a partial signal before I destroyed it, Hejun said. They know something is here, even if they don't know exactly what they found. The ancient outpost hummed with power as its systems activated. On the walls, the flowing images were replaced by defense readouts and sensor data. This facility has remained hidden for centuries, Hejun said, working quickly at the control crystal. If the Shapers detect it, they will know Earth is worth investigating. We cannot let that happen. Young Mai studied the sensor readings on the walls. The scanning pattern is moving in a spiral, she observed. They're being methodical. They'll reach this location in less than an hour. Hejun's hands move faster over the controls. I'm sending an encrypted emergency signal to my people, but we need to protect this outpost until help arrives. Outside, the autumn storm grew stronger. The fate of Earth's unique and beautiful life hung in the balance, protected only by 2 humans and 1 alien guardian in an ancient hidden base. Inside the ancient outpost, Jai-yun, Young-mi, and Hejun watched the Shaper scan moving closer on the holographic displays. The autumn storm outside had grown into a tempest, with strong winds howling against the mountain. My people have received the emergency signal, Hejun announced, monitoring the crystal control panel. They are sending a response team. However, they cannot arrive before the Shaper scan reaches our location. Young-mi studied the defensive systems displayed on the walls. Can this outpost protect itself? She asked. Yes, but activating the defense systems would reveal our presence to everyone, Hejun explained. The military, the Shapers, and any other watching species would detect the energy signature. Earth's secret would be exposed. Jai-yun looked at the flowing images on the walls. Pictures of New Zealand's unique birds, plants, and landscapes. What happens if the Shapers discover Earth? She asked quietly. Hejun's expression became grave. They would begin their transformation process immediately. First, they would release engineered bacteria to break down all existing life forms. Then they would introduce their own artificial ecosystem. Within 1 year, Earth would become a perfect copy of their home world. The outpost's warning system flashed again. The Shaper scan was now only 30 minutes away. We have 3 options, Hejun said. First, we can activate the outpost's defenses, protecting ourselves but revealing Earth to the galaxy. Second, we can abandon the outpost and try to escape, leaving Earth's secret safe but losing this ancient facility. Third, he paused, looking at both women. We can attempt to redirect the Shaper scan using our combined knowledge. Young-mi opened her laptop. What do you mean by combined knowledge? Your understanding of Earth's communication systems, Jai-yun's knowledge of the local environment, and my technology. Together, we might create a deception that even the Shapers would believe, Hejun explained. Jai-yun thought about all the unique life she had studied in these mountains. What do you need us to do? She asked. They worked quickly. Young-mi used her program to interfere with military communications, creating a pattern of random security sweeps that would confuse the Shaper scan. Jai-yun provided data about natural magnetic formations in the mountains that could explain any unusual readings. Hejun combined their information with his advanced technology. The outpost systems processed everything, creating a complex illusion of normal Earth activity. The scan is approaching, Young-mi reported, watching her laptop screen. 10 minutes until it reaches us. Hejun's hands moved swiftly over the crystal controls. The deception is in place. Now we must remain absolutely still. Any unusual energy signature could reveal us. They waited in tense silence as the minutes passed. The storm raged outside, but inside the outpost, everything was perfectly quiet. The scan moved closer and closer on their displays. Finally, it passed over their location. For a moment, the outpost walls pulsed with intense light as the scan touched them. Then, slowly, the light faded. It worked, Hejun said softly. The Shaper's scan recorded nothing but natural phenomena. Earth's secret is safe. As if in response to his words, a new message appeared on the outpost walls. Hejun's people had received their signal. Help was coming. Jai-yun looked at Young-mi, then at Hejun. Together, they had protected Earth's precious diversity. But their adventure wasn't over yet. They still had to maintain their deception until Hejun's people arrived. The autumn storm continued outside, nature's wild beauty untamed and free. For now, at least, Earth would remain that way. The golden light of dawn broke through the storm clouds as Hejun's people arrived. Their ship descended silently through the autumn rain, cloaked from all Earth's detection systems. It hovered above the ancient outpost, nearly invisible against the morning sky. Inside the outpost, Jai Yun and Young Mai watched in amazement as three more beings like He Jun materialized before them. They wore the same color-shifting clothing and moved with the same fluid grace. "You have done well," He Jun said, the tallest of the newcomers. "The Shaper threat has been diverted, and Earth remains protected. We received your full report through the outpost systems." He Jun bowed slightly. "I had help," he said, gesturing to Jai Yun and Young Mai. "These humans proved that Earth's people are ready to understand more about their place in the galaxy." The second visitor stepped forward, holding a small crystal device. "We must discuss the future," she said. "The Shapers will return eventually. Earth needs more guardians." Jai Yun and Young Mai exchanged glances. They understood what was being suggested. "We have reviewed your actions during this crisis," the third visitor said. "You showed wisdom, courage, and a deep commitment to protecting Earth's natural diversity. These are the qualities we seek in guardians." He Jun smiled at his human friends. "Would you be willing to help us?" he asked. "You could continue your research, but with access to our technology and knowledge, you would be Earth's first human guardians." Young Mai looked at her laptop, then at the advanced alien technology around them. "We could help protect Earth's species from within the scientific community," she said thoughtfully. "The choice must be yours," the tall visitor said. "But know that accepting means keeping many secrets. You would need to be very careful." Jai Yun walked to the outpost walls, where images of Earth's living things still flowed like water. She saw the rare plants she had studied, the endangered animals she had worked to protect, and all the beautiful diversity of her world. "I'll do it," she said firmly. "Earth's life is worth protecting." "I'm in too," Young Mai added. "Someone needs to keep an eye on things down here." The visitors nodded in approval. He Jun touched the crystal control panel one last time, and the outpost systems began transferring data to smaller devices for Jai Yun and Young Mai. "These will help you monitor for any unusual activity," He Jun explained. "They look like normal research equipment, but they can detect signals from space and analyze patterns that might indicate Shaper activity." As the sun rose higher, the storm began to clear. Through the outpost's hidden windows, they could see the autumn leaves glowing with rain-washed color. The military vehicles were leaving the area, their scanners having found nothing unusual. "Will we see you again?" Jai Yun asked He Jun as his people prepared to leave. "Of course," he replied. "I am assigned to this sector of space. We will work together often." He paused, looking at the beautiful Earth morning. "Besides, I have grown quite fond of your autumn seasons." After He Jun and his people departed, Jai Yun and Young Mai made their way back to the research cabin. To anyone watching, they appeared to be normal scientists returning from a morning of field research, but they carried with them new purpose and knowledge. As they walked through the golden autumn forest, they understood that they were now part of something much larger, an ancient network of guardians, protecting the precious diversity of life throughout the galaxy. The morning mist rose from the valley below, and Earth continued its quiet dance through space, its countless species safe under the watchful eyes of its new guardians.